Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we are diving headfirst into the dark, twisted world of a Gothic masterpiece that absolutely scandalized society back in the 18th century. We're talking about Matthew Lewis's The Monk. And let me tell you, this is a story about how the purest faith can curdle into something truly unspeakably depraved. So, the whole story really hinges on this one guy, the abbot Ambrosio. And what a story it is. We're not talking about a simple mistake here or a minor slip-up. No, this is a complete and utter spiritual collapse. It's a free fall from the absolute peak of holiness right into the pits of hell.
All right, so let's start with the Saint of Madrid, because you see, to really feel the impact of his fall, you have to get a sense of just how high up he was. For 30 long years, this man was basically seen as a living saint.
Yeah, universal esteem is almost an understatement. Ambrosio wasn't just respected, he was worshipped. I mean, the people of Madrid looked at him and saw the absolute peak of virtue. His reputation for being holy, totally spotless. He was charming, he was a brilliant speaker, and for 30 years he'd built this fortress of piety around himself.
But here's the thing. Underneath that saintly act, there's this huge conflict brewing. You see, Ambrosio was naturally a go-getter, fearless. He had the heart of a warrior. But his whole education in the monastery, it was built on fear and superstition, and it just twisted all those great qualities. It basically created this fake personality, outwardly humble, but on the inside, deeply selfish and vengeful. And that internal battle, well, it's the story's ticking time bomb, just waiting to go off.
Next up, the devil in disguise. And yes, speaking of that time bomb, it is about to go off. The very first crack in Ambrosio's perfect, holy image shows up when a beautiful novice named Matilda arrives. And believe me, she is not what she appears to be.
So, once Matilda reveals that she's actually a woman and, well, seduces him, that dam of 30 years of restraint doesn't just crack. It absolutely explodes. In just one night, he lets loose what the book calls his intemperate appetites. We're talking about things that just the day before he would have been horrified to even think about. Just like that, the saint is gone. Poof! And what's so wild is how fast his entire moral compass just shatters. The shame, the fear of God's punishment, it all just vanishes almost instantly. And what replaces it? A totally different kind of fear, a much more immediate one. The terror of losing these new physical pleasures. Hell is no longer some far-off idea. No, his own gratification is real, it's here, and he will do anything to keep it.
But of course, once he has what he wants, the passion just evaporates. It's a classic theme in these Gothic novels. Now that he's had his fill, Ambrosio is actually disgusted by Matilda. He can't stand her. And get this, he despises her for the very sin he was so desperate to commit with her. He actually blames her for loving him much too well. Can you believe that? So, naturally, his predatory eyes start wandering, and they land on the pure, innocent Antonia. She's a new challenge, and he finds that irresistible.
So that brings us to our next section, sorcery in the sepulchre. Antonia's mother, you see, is very protective, so she blocks Ambrosio from seeing her. And this is where his human weakness just gives way to something much, much darker. This is the point of no return.
So the big question is, right, with her mother watching her like a hawk, how is Ambrosio possibly going to get to her? Well, this is where the story takes a huge leap. From a story about a man's weakness into the straight-up, terrifying world of the supernatural. Ambrosio is desperate, and that desperation is about to make him do something that will seal his fate forever. And that something is sorcery. We're talking about using magic, summoning demons, the whole shebang. For Ambrosio, it's the ultimate shortcut to getting what he wants, and, well, a shortcut to damnation. Matilda sees how obsessed he is with Antonia, and so she finally reveals who she really is. She's not just some seductive woman. Nope, she's a full-blown sorceress, and she offers him the power of dark magic to fulfill his desires.
And where does this all go down? I mean, you couldn't pick a more perfect, more horrifying setting. They go down into the catacombs, deep beneath the convent, literally surrounded by rotting corpses. And there, Matilda performs a demonic ritual. She draws a magic circle, uses her own blood, and summons a demon, all to help Ambrosio satisfy his lust. Now, what do you think Ambrosio was expecting to see? Some hideous, terrifying monster, right? Well, that's not what he got. what appears is Lucifer himself, but he's disguised as this beautiful, angelic-looking young man. It's an incredible deception, really. Evil doesn't show up with horns and a pitchfork. It shows up looking beautiful, desirable, even safe. And that's what makes the deal with the devil so tempting.
Okay, on to the next chapter, Murder in God's House. So now Ambrosio has this magical talisman from Lucifer, and things are about to get so much worse. His sins? They're escalating. We're moving from lust to straight-up brutal violence. And where does he do it? In the most sacred places imaginable.
And it all happens so fast, it's terrifyingly calculated. First, he uses the magic branch to get into Antonia's bedroom while she's asleep. But her mother, Elvira, finds him there. She screams, she threatens to expose him for the monster he is, and in that moment, Ambrosio makes a choice, a chilling one. To protect his reputation and to make sure he can still get to Antonia, he grabs a pillow and smothers her mother to death.
At this point, you think it can't get any worse, but his depravity has absolutely no limits. Since he can't get to Antonia at her house anymore, he and Matilda cook up this horrific new plan. He gives her a powerful drug, an opiate that makes it look like she's dead. Everyone thinks she died of a broken heart, and she's buried, you guessed it, in the exact same crypts where he made his pact with the devil.
And as poor Antonia starts to wake up, in a tomb, surrounded by skeletons and rotting bodies, Ambrosio is there waiting for her. She begs him for mercy, but he just ignores her pleas, and he rapes her. Right there in the cold, dark tomb. This is it. The transformation from saint to monster is absolutely complete. Sacrilege, murder, and now rape. All of it committed on holy ground. Okay, our final section, the devil's final deceit. Because, acts this monstrous, they don't go unpunished. He is eventually discovered, and he's captured by the one thing everyone feared, the Spanish Inquisition. He's put on trial, and it all leads to one last, absolutely terrifying confrontation. So he's captured, right? And then he's tortured, brutally. After that, he's condemned to be burned at the stake. Faced with this unbelievable agony and a horrible death by fire, Ambrosio just breaks. He's got one last desperate card to play. He uses those demonic rituals Matilda taught him, and he summons Lucifer for one final deal. But this time, Lucifer doesn't show up as a pretty angel. Oh no. This time, he appears in his true form. A huge, monstrous being, literally scarred by God's lightning, with living snakes for hair. The disguise is gone. This is the real face of evil, and he's here to collect his due. So the devil offers him a deal, an escape from the fire. But the price? It's everything. His immortal soul. And in his last hour, totally terrified of being burned alive, Ambrosio makes the choice you can't take back. Lucifer literally sticks a pen into the monk's vein, and with his own blood, Ambrosio signs the contract. He renounces God and signs himself over to eternal damnation. And the second that contract is signed, Lucifer lays it all out for him, revealing just how completely he'd been played. He confesses that he orchestrated everything. He was the puppet master from the very beginning. And then he delivers the final soul-rushing twist. Antonia, the woman he raped and killed, was his own sister. So now his list of sins includes not just murder and rape, but incest too. Turns out the whole escape was a lie. The devil just laughs in his face, telling him he only saved him from a fast death by fire so he could give him a much, much slower and more painful one. He flies Ambrosio high up into the mountains, smashes his body against the sharp rocks, and just leaves him there, blind, broken, being eaten by insects, to suffer for 6 agonizing days before he finally dies and his soul is dragged down to hell. And so the monk leaves us with this really haunting question, doesn't it? Was Ambrosio just born evil, a monster from the start with a dark seed just waiting for the right moment to grow? Or was he a good man who was completely destroyed by temptation and a society so repressive, so demanding of an impossible perfection that his virtue was just too fragile to survive? It really makes you wonder, where is the real monster? Is it the man himself? Or is it the system that created him in the first place?